Are you talking about the parking lot that you mistakenly went to, or the parking lot across the street where the real incident was occurring?
Objection form.
I respond to the parking lot across from the Midtown Live nightclub. It would have been across Cameron on the opposite side of the road,
Where the pizza place was?
if that's where the pizza place is located.
I'm showing you a diagram from
Sure.
the police report. Does that accurately describe the scene?
Yes.
Could you, just for my, 'cause all I know is the pizza parking lot. I don't know about where the bar is, but could you put an X or put a P for pizza where you believe the pizza parking lot would be,
Objection form.
where the pizza restaurant would be?
Objection form.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't know where it's located.
Okay. But this is the parking lot where you first, or this is the parking lot where the accident happened, right?
This parking
This
lot,
parking
yes.
lot. And that, the bar that you're talking about, that you're responding to, was not this parking lot, correct? It was the parking lot across the street at the bar.
That's where the initial call,
When you say across the street, are you talking, would you point to where, okay, can you draw a circle where where your destination was? Where you were planning on, where the incident that caused you to go to the scene, where was the incident occurring? It was on, across the street from where?
the address that we were dispatched to was tied to this nightclub.
Okay, could you put a circle there for where you were supposed to be? Okay.
Wait, was the question where he's supposed to be, or where
Where
the club is?
It's my understanding that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that where you were supposed to be and where the club is the same place, which is across the street from where the accident actually occurred.
Is that a question?
I'm
Objection
ask-
form.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When I say where your destination was, where you were supposed to be, I'm saying when you were called for this emergency, the disturbance, you went to a parking lot across the street from where the incident was, correct?
Objection form.
What's your basis?
Because I think it's unclear what you're asking. If he understands, he can answer it. But I'm making my objection for preservation for the time of trial. So
You're so aggressive.
I'm
It's
following
not
the
that
rules. You asked me my basis.
but
Unclear.
you don't have to be so dominant about things or condescending.
I'm sorry. I wasn't speaking up condescending, but please don't fight.
Okay,
You asked me my
I know
basis.
you're not bossy, but you have great leadership skills.
Well, thank you.
I think I can clarify this.
Thank you.
The address that was attached to the initial call of the nature unknown urgent, the address given was the address to Midtown Live nightclub.
Okay.
I don't know the exact numbers. I believe it was 7408 Cameron Road.
But that's across the street from the from.
Scott, will you let him finish his answer? Let him
That-
finish his answer.
Sorry, I thought he was
Then
finished.
ask him the next question.
That is across the street from where the accident occurred.
Okay.
As I'm responding to that location, the initial officers that arrived on scene identified the disturbance to be in this parking lot across from the nightclub. So the initial call was tied to the nightclub.
Okay.
The officers arrived on scene,
Okay.
identified the disturbance to be in this parking lot,
Uh-huh.
which is why I responded to that parking lot.
Once you got there, though, it turned out to be a false alarm, didn't it? None of the officers were. It was a false alarm, correct?
In regard to what aspect?
In regard to any, the police officers that were there at the scene when you drove up were in no hurry. They weren't doing an investigating. In fact, they were sitting around laughing at the accident, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Objection form.
No, there Initially identifying a verbal disturbance that was taking place.
By the time you got there, where were they at? Were they either in or next to their vehicles?
If I recall, they were on foot in the parking lot.
But they weren't actively going after any bad guys at that point. It had been, the situation had diminished and had resolved. Is that correct?
Upon my arrival, I don't believe they had made it to the parking lot where the suspect vehicle that was listed.
So they were still in hot pursuit?
They were still in the parking lot identifying a disturbance, or trying to identify the disturbance.
And what were they doing in the parking lot at this point? When you say identifying the disturbance, this was a heated, the call that came in was called a what again? Remind us what the name of the...
Nature unknown urgent.
Nature unknown urgent sounds serious. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay. Was the
Thank you.
was the situation that caused you to be called out there, you say it had not been resolved. They were still in the process of trying to find out where the disturbance was? You would think that they would be out driving around or looking or out of their car. Was that what they were doing, or were they doing something else that didn't seem to be of an urgent nature?
I think they were both trying to observe where the disturbance was taking place, and also given the congestion in that parking lot with vehicles leaving after bar closing, trying to get crowds dispersed and the parking lot cleared.
Were they there on that call, or were you out? Were they sent out to the same location for the same call that you were sent out for, or were they there for other reasons?
The same call.
Okay. Because 2 o'clock in the morning would be happy hour for the police department in terms of finding people that are driving intoxicated, correct? Isn't that after 2 o'clock the time the police officers would possibly scope out a bar to see if there's any intoxicated patrons that drive away?
Objection form?
No.
Or is that on a need-to-know basis?
On what need to know? I'm not clear.
Were they there? Are there police officers that are in that parking lot for other reasons on a normal basis, because of the proximity to the bar, or for other reasons other than what you were called out there for?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. So tell us, you were on, after you got to the parking lot, were you maneuvering to park, or were you leaving the scene?
I had just entered the parking lot from the east curb line,
Okay.
and almost immediately identified the vehicle that was listed as a suspect vehicle in the call text. I recognized that vehicle by the make and color of the vehicle, as well as the license plate, as being the suspect vehicle listed in the call.
Okay.
When I made the immediate turn in, given the position of that vehicle with the position of my vehicle, it was not a tactical sound position. One, both for safety of myself, just from a tactical standpoint, but also given the camera view for the DMAV, given my position, it would not have captured the incident taking place in front of me.
Did the video or the audio catch any of the police officers laughing after you struck Goldie's vehicle?
Objection form?
What's your basis?
It's argumentative, and it's also testifying. You're putting facts that are not into evidence. in your question.
I'm just asking him whether he heard anybody laughing.
You asked me my basis. I'm telling you the
that's-
basis.
Forget your basis. Click. You can answer. Was there anyone that you heard laughing at anyone or anything at the time, or immediately after the collision?
To my recollection, no.
Where are these videos?
They would be preserved on our DMAV server.
Is that something that I would be able to get a hold of this afternoon?
That would probably be a question directed towards Open Records. I don't know the process.
Okay, I've been sending your attorney requests for months now for copies of the videos, and we've never gotten a copy of them.
Objection
In
form.
fact, they've been not
if you want
responded
to talk
to.
to you about this, we can go off the record.
I'd just as soon the jury understand that we've made efforts to
You're
get them.
testifying and you're not supposed to be, and you're not supposed to be making accusations like this in a deposition. The deposition is to ask him questions about the accident, about the case, not to pick a fight with me or make inaccurate testimony in front of something that's going to be going on the record for the judge, for the jury.
And the
so
judge.
that's inappropriate, and you know it.
Tell me what Goldie did wrong.
I don't think I can answer that.
Well, you better. You're saying it's not your fault.
That would be a question for the accident investigator.
No, you were the one that was there at the accident. You're the one that backed up. In terms of percentages, since I've asked you from the very beginning whether or not you take responsibility, and you said no. In terms of percentages, if you had to do what a jury's going to be asked to do, and that is place blame on both yourself and your driving behavior and Goldie's, what percentage under oath, under God, do you place blame for yourself versus Goldie
Objection form.
or a higher being?
Objection form.
I think that's for a jury to decide.
Yep.